Realizing Your Potential LLC presents Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within. This anthology brings together women that have overcome hardships in their lives and have managed not only to survive, but thrive. Their stories focus on resiliency, adaptability, and strength, acknowledging the innate strength and leadership qualities in African American women.
Hello, 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 ladies. We are back again with another awesome expert exclusive interview with the one and only Dionne Greaves. Is it pronounced Greaves or Graves?
Greaves.
Greaves. Okay. So in just a moment, she's going to go ahead and get started. But let me just say this. I am your host. If you don't know already, my name is Jacqueline Kaba-Harrison, and I am your host for this awesome 𝙌𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙉𝙎 Roundtable Leadership Symposium. This time, the theme of it is Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within. And if you don't know, write this down, because Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within collaborative anthology is going to drop next month. I am so excited. Juneteenth is our anticipated launch date. However, make sure you follow me at Realizing Your Potential. The number's 123, and that's on Facebook. That way, as soon as pre-sales begin, you can go ahead and grab your copy. All right. So I am also your host for 𝙌𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 Roundtable show and podcast, as well as the executive producer of the 𝙌𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 Roundtable channel on the Women Win Network, which is an all-women network dedicated to women winning. Straight up women's empowerment. So if you haven't checked us out already, make sure you do so. I am also looking for show hosts to host their own show on the 𝙌𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 Roundtable channel, as well as guests for the 𝙌𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 Roundtable show and podcast. So if you were interested, you can email me at Realizing Your Potential, the number's 123@gmail.com, and or you can go to my website, which is listed there, Realizing Your Potential, the number 123.com, and or follow me on Facebook at Realizing Your Potential 123. Okay, if you did not go and grab a pen and a pad, you got 2 seconds to go ahead and do it. Miss Dionne, go ahead and introduce yourself, Queen. Let us know a little bit about yourself, who you serve, and how you serve them, please.
So I am Dionne Greaves, the Mompreneur CEO. I'm a business empowerment coach and mentor to aspiring mompreneurs. I'm a global empowerment speaker. I am the executive producer and TV show host of the Mompreneur CEO show. I am the chief executive assistant of Women Win Network and Jesus Coffee and Prayer. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a pastor, and I'm an administrative professional by career. And so that's a little bit about who I am and what I do. I was born and raised here on the beautiful, breathtaking island of Barbados. And so I'm a born and bred Caribbean girl all through and through. And I've been in the online space, building my business, pushing my talk show for the last 18 months, and I've had a phenomenal journey. So that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Okay, and that's the mom. It's called the Mompreneur show.
I am the Mompreneur CEO. The show is called the Mompreneur CEO show, and my business is called the Mompreneur CEO.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the table, Miss Dionne.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, now it's round table.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so honored that you're here and we get to have this conversation all the way from Barbados. I know it's beautiful there.
It's breathtaking, yes.
Got your little shoulders all out and everything. I
Because
think
it's hot, girl.
it's like I think now maybe it's about in the 70s here.
Listen,
70s, yeah.
it's it's hotter than that because most days we're at 86 degrees or close to 90, so it's pretty hot. Very, very hot today.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Those of you that are catching us live, and for those of you that will catch the replay, please show us some love. Leave whatever questions or comments you have in the comments for us. All right. So we're going to be talking about all things leadership. So this particular symposium is specifically geared towards leadership development, in particular for African American women in leadership. And a lot of us that are in leadership roles, we're either in leadership roles in our 9-to-5, as well as our business, or possibly we've completely transitioned into being a full-time entrepreneur, which obviously we are also in the leadership role there as well. So first I want to start off by asking you, Dionne, when would you say you first began to consider yourself to be a leader?
I would say I considered myself to be a leader probably in my teens. I was born to lead. I just didn't knew that I was born to lead. I didn't know that. And many people would nominate me for things or to lead things. I would always come out on top. Even in school, I was considered the teacher's favorite because they would always put me up to do things and to lead stuff. And I never liked it. I always felt more comfortable in the background. I always felt comfortable working behind the scenes, doing my thing, getting it done. Nobody has to know it's me. But somehow this thing about leadership has always been attached to me. And I guess because I was the firstborn of 2 children to my mother, and I was an only child for 7 years, I naturally was expected to lead. And so it really dawned on me that I was really a leader in my, I would say, late teens.
Okay. You and I have that in common. I am actually, well, it was 3 of us. One of my brothers is deceased. But I'm the oldest, and it's about 6.5 years between myself and my brother. So I definitely understand that piece of it. So, okay, in your teens. And I always find that an interesting question because some women just know just from day one that they were just, they were born to lead. They were leaders, and then others kind of gradually segued into the role, or some were in that role but never really saw themselves in that role. And it's those individuals around them that were coming to them and looking to them for leadership. And they kind of reluctantly always say, put the leadership crown on kind of reluctantly, like, oh, me? Okay, well, I guess I'll put it on. So I always like to ask that. I always think it's interesting to for individuals to tell their story. And I'm the last one. I never really saw myself. I've always kind of had an idea. Well, let me say, I always have an idea of the way I think things should play out or how I want them to play out. But I never really considered myself to be a leader. It was only kind of later on as I began to see that people would kind of acknowledge me in reference to being a leader. And I was kind of like, oh, well, okay. So I was kind of late on the totem pole to the whole leadership role. So, and I'm just, just being honest and just, keeping it real, because everyone has a different path. So this is part of our discussion, and that's why we talk about it. I want to open up the floodgates, if you will, to talk about leadership. So if the sooner we realize, right, that we are true leaders, we can begin to work to be more effective leaders.
And sometimes it is how it is relayed, because I remember going to school and even growing up in church and being nominated for things, and I always felt like they were picking on me. I never saw it as me leading. It always felt like they gave me the things that nobody else would want to do. And so that's how I viewed it. So I didn't understand that they were actually grooming me to take on more leadership roles. I didn't see it like that. I felt like because nobody else would want to do it, or they didn't think somebody else could do it, it fell at me. So I had no choice. And being the first child, I had the complex of being a perfectionist. I also had the complex of not wanting to disappoint other people. So I was set into these roles so that I don't let people down. Not understanding that I was really being groomed for that role as a leader throughout my life. I remember I was probably still in what y'all call high school, but we call it secondary school. I was still in secondary school. I was probably around 14, 15, and I was the director for Sunday school at church. So here you have a 14-year-old who should have been in youth class at Sunday school. I was actually running Sunday school. I was coordinating camps, all of these type of things. So it is something that was nurtured. It wasn't openly nurtured to my knowledge, but I was being groomed and shaped all along. And with that came its challenges. I remember being sent to a camp with teenagers before my time. I was 15. I was supposed to go at 16. And they sent me 1 year earlier thinking that I was at the age grade to go, and ended up, having a phenomenal experience. I came in and come back with a whole different scope on how things should go. And then when I recognized that, people were looking at me to lead, people would come to me for advice, people would come to me for expertise. If somebody had an idea, they would always come to run it by me. I started to recognize, there's something inside of me. And then I went through some of the biggest battles of my life, and I recognized, there's something great inside of me that the devil is trying to keep from getting out. Because the call on my life, it was there, and it has always been there. I didn't recognize it at first, but when I did recognize it, I started to pay more attention. I still was not comfortable leading or being called a leader. And there were some people who didn't think that I was qualified to lead based on their own standards, but it never took away from the fact that that was the thing that God called for me to do, even in the workplace. I remember early in my career, my first job, I was a volunteer preschool teacher. And I remember being put to lead things. Mind you, I was not even full-time. I was volunteering and being put in charge of so many different projects and stuff like that. Every single place that I've went to work, I've always been ending up leading something or the other. It has been a natural course of my life. So falling into the role of a leader now as an adult, really and truly, it didn't surprise me. It is pretty much the expectation. And then when my husband decided he was going to follow the call of God on his life to build a ministry, it was like, Jesus, I really can't get away from this thing at all. So we built a ministry from the ground up. And so that, again, was a whole nother level of leadership required. And so it is the natural course of my life, which I've decided to embrace. It is the thing that I know that God has called me to do. It has played out in so many different ways and forms, but it all leads back to being that expert, being that leader, being that, that go-to person, being the person who's so dependable, being this person who always has the answers. People always seem to think I have the answers to everything. And so it kind of just falls back on me all the time.
Wow. It is just, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And that's exactly what I mean. See, other people happen to see the leadership qualities in you way before you even probably knew what a leader was. You know what I mean? And like you said, they were giving you the extra responsibility. But I think it's interesting how you mentioned that initially, I guess like in school, you thought it was that they were just kind of giving you things because other people didn't want to do it or something along those lines. Whereas it was quite so not the case. It was because they saw something in you,
Yes.
So yeah, that is, I love it. I love it. I love it. So now I'm sure you wear that leadership crown, just walk proud with it, right?
There are times that I still try to get away from it, but it can't be escaped. And even at work recently, I've had the opportunity to have a very confidential conversation with a senior level executive. And I was able to give great insight onto some changes that will be coming in the business. And so I was able to give my expertise in that. And the thing is that with the role that I have, I support the C-suite, but they never understood that I have the ability to have the insight that I have. There's some things that I've learned in the job that I've been in that I was able then to say to my boss, you know what, these are some of the changes and these are some of the recommendations I can make. These are some of the things that you need to do. So we need to start thinking about creating a legacy in the company where we start to train people to take over roles, have a succession plan. And these are the persons that I have identified that I think would be a good fit to go under this particular succession plan, and made some great recommendations. And so some amazing changes are coming. And so I've had the confidence to be able to step up and lead from the back. Because leading is not always being at the front. You can lead and not be at the front, and people don't recognize that. I learned that as a wife, because many times, especially when you're a strong woman and you're accustomed leading and making decisions on your own, when you get into a relationship, when you connect yourself to someone in a marriage, the dynamic changes, because now he has to lead. He has been given the mandate by God to lead. It doesn't mean that you are submissive and you don't have a voice. It means that you can still lead, because he is the engine, but you're the gas that keeps things going. So you have a voice at that table. So even in my marriage, I still have a seat at the table. I still have an opinion. I still have a voice. Yes, the final decision is my husband, but being called on and relied upon to be a leader, as I said, from childhood, growing up, my mother, that was the expectation because I was the firstborn. Having to tailor that role to suit marriage and even ministry, because he's my pastor. He's also my husband. But the dynamic changes, but it does not mean that you can't lead from your position. And this is the thing that people need to understand. Sometimes we get captivated by titles, we get captivated by positions, we get captivated by the appearance of power and think that we're not in a position. But sometimes we have the right ears, sometimes we have the right access that allows us to create that change, especially when people respect you and see you as a leader. You have the right audience to create the change that is necessary. So you don't have to have the top title. You just have to have the right level of access. And that's what people don't understand. As a leader, you don't have to be at the top to lead.
So you know what? Talk a little bit more about that. And I just love how, and for those of you that's been watching all of the different interviews, every woman leader that I interview always has a different angle or something in addition that, teaches us more about leadership and the complexities of leadership. And one of the things you just mentioned, that this is the first time this has come up, about leading, that you don't always have to be out in the front, in the forefront.
No, you don't.
So elaborate a little bit more on that and talk about it. And this is probably even more so for some of the younger generations of women that are, coming up, that are like, I'm not going to be in the back. And you know what I mean? So talk to us a little bit more about that, about leading from the, I guess.
People may call it leading from behind. I call it servant leadership. Servant leadership. When you understand the bigger picture, when you see that it is not just about you, you can still lead no matter where you sit. You can still lead no matter what your position is, right? So within the organization where I work, I'm not at the top level of my company. I support those executives. So I support the VPs, I support the SVPs, I support those people. But I have the ability to create change. I have the ability to still stand up and lead certain initiatives that other people will sit back and not do anything about. And you have to understand what your position is. And once you understand that, and understand that you have the access and you have the ears and it's for the betterment of the team, you can still lead being a part of that team. In a marriage, you're still part of a team. You don't have to be the head, but understand that you still have the ability to lead and to help create and by way of influence, make certain decisions. When you are working in collaborative situations, you may not always be at the top, but you'll still have that measure of influence and power to lead from behind, what we call behind. It's not necessarily being behind, but it's more so like leading alongside. So I look at it as servant leadership. That's how I view it, right? So in every situation, no matter where the spectrum falls, no matter where I'm at, I'm always the leader. That's it, period.
Like she said, that's it, period. Okay, so all right, so tell me this. What would you say are some of the characteristics of a good leader?
First of all, integrity, right? Integrity is a big one for me. The ability to serve, the ability to support, the ability to enrich and to empower, the ability to respect others, the ability to value others, right? And the ability to enlighten others. A lot of times we don't do these things. We just think that leading is saying, what to do. And the best leaders lead by example. If you want something done, you show people how to get it done. Not by sitting down and saying, okay, I want you to do A, B, C, D. Be the example and they follow. And when you have people, like for instance, I have a team of people that I work with. I've been able to positively impact each and every one of them in tremendous ways by being the example that I would want them to be. You don't have to come and tell them, well, hello, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, I lead. I show by example how I want to be treated. I have open conversations. I treat them with respect. I speak my mind, yes, but I'm always respectful. And we have to show people that we value them. And once we bring out these elements, that I would say are key traits to being a good leader, that's how you make the difference. That's how you create the impact. That's how you create the legacy. That's how you have the longevity. And so I must say that all the relationships that I have built thus far with my team and stuff like that, these people, they don't want to leave.
Yeah,
they want to stay. They want to partner with me forever and ever, and I'm saying to them, I don't mind you partnering me for this season, but you got to grow. I want you to grow and to develop and to thrive, but they're happy to work with me because of the type of leader that I am. And so for me, I'm not the boss. I lead, but I'm not the boss. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to allow you to thrive. So I tell you, okay, this is what I want to have. This is my vision, but I allow you to take that and run with it. And I trust that you're able to execute what I'm looking for. I do not micromanage. So a good leader doesn't micromanage tasks. You have to trust your people that are supporting you. You have to trust your key stakeholders. You have to trust your supporting cast. You cannot be behind them all of the time. If you have to get behind people to do things all of the time, you got to check yourself. You got to check your team. There's a disconnect somewhere there where people don't feel safe enough to use their initiative, or you have the wrong players in the game. But as a leader, you've got to create that space of, but make people feel safe enough that they can be themselves. Because when people are themselves, they actually thrive and they do so much better than if you try to, force them into being something that they're not necessarily. So that's my idea of what good leadership looks like.
And I'm thinking this came up before too. And you said it, you just didn't use this word per se, being able to follow. That's come up a couple of times, that a good leader is able to, all the things you said, sense of integrity. One young lady said to be able to communicate, to be able to demonstrate, right? To be able to follow, because you don't want to, because if you're leading and you're a good leader, then the other individuals, like it's a lot that goes into having someone feel like they have a stake in it, having someone feel that they're important, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. Because like you said, if you have to stand over someone every 2 seconds, okay, do this. Okay, no, do that. You know what I mean? Then you have to kind of take a look at yourself, because they say everything starts at the top and then it trickles down. So it's the leader that sets the example. Now, what do you say to those individuals that have the mindset of, I have to demand respect. I don't want to be seen as anyone's equal. I have to keep up this sort of authoritative type of, I'm up here, you're down here kind of a thing. What do you say to those individuals in leadership? Because we know there's a lot out there like that.
Have several seats.
Not just one, right?
You need to have several seats, because you are way in over your head and you're about to commit suicide, because this is not the way for leadership. You will never get anything done. You will never accomplish anything if that is your approach. And there's some people that believe in order to lead, they have to make other people feel insignificant or, inferior. That's not it. You need to really check yourself. So I would say to them, have several seats, sit in the corner, go on a timeout, and really do some introspection and find out what is the root cause of your insecurity that you're treating people this way. Now, let me tell you, I've placed a demand on the world for respect, but I have not gone out there and said, okay, you need to respect me. It is by how I show up. It is by how I communicate and relate to other people. People respect you. Respect is something that is not something that, you just get people to do because they should. It is earned by the way you treat and interact with other people. And so this is why I have the respect that I have in the online space. This is why I have the respect in the workplace and stuff like that. Even when I go into work, people have not seen me in the office for 4 years because I was working from home since 2018. And they were like, "You're still here?" Yes. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you." It was like this big thing when I went to the office last week, right? And people came to talk to me about certain things that they were experiencing, certain challenges again. So how you treat people really, really, it really highlights the type of leader that you are, right? And people who are those arrogant types of leaders that need to have several seats in that corner, they do not last long. They have a quick turnover when it comes to people. People don't stay with them very long. People run away from them or they work under duress. So if you are that leader, go and have some seats in the corner and really check yourself because you're about to wreck yourself. Legit.
And then she got on Ice Cube. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
That's a Barbadian thing, so I didn't even know that.
Okay, it's Ice Cube though, right? Says that. Check yourself before you wreck. Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't know that.
Look, throw the hook out. We'll be back in. Okay, all right. I'm back. So, I will never forget that, Dionne. Your first and foremost statement about how you handle those people is that they need to take a few seats
in the corner.
Mm-hmm. I love it. You know what? I had to share this too. This is just hilarious. It's ridiculous and hilarious all at the same time. I had a supervisor, and one of the other ladies mentioned too that just because you're a boss or a manager doesn't necessarily mean you're a leader.
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But okay, I'm pretty sure you probably can add to that too. But the funny I'm giving here is that my manager, when I started the job and everything, he specifically said to me, "If you have any questions, don't come to me. Go to so-and-so." And I was like, you know what I mean? My mouth dropped. I was like, what? What did you just say? And I was just talking, having this discussion about an effective leader.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, who does that? Who does that? But anyway, if you can go ahead and comment a little bit about, the difference between, being a supervisor or a manager and being a leader, and that one doesn't necessarily equal the other, so to speak.
Definitely one does not necessarily equal the other, because a lot of what I found in my experience in the corporate space is that a lot of these leaders and managers have the technical skills, they have the work skills to get the job done. But when it comes to the people skills, the soft skills, they lack in that area. And I have worked with several managers, several VPs, several FDs, whatever you want to call these C-suite people. I've worked with a lot of them who are great at what they do when it comes to the transactional process of the job. But when it comes to people, they suck. They absolutely suck, right? I have a boss that didn't used to answer the phone. Wouldn't respond to emails, right? Unless she was having a crisis or a calamity, she would not reach out to me. But I'm supposed to be your executive assistant, and this is how you're treating me. And so we have to understand that because you have the technical skills or you have the ability to complete the transactional stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are called to lead people, right? And sometimes the people team or the human resources team are part of the problem, because they too don't know how to interact with the people part of the business. And the people part of the business is critical to the success of that business. Because if the people are not happy, you're going to get a lot of disgruntled people. And if you have disgruntled people, productivity is going to crash. You want people to work because they feel at home. You want them to feel that they can step up for opportunities. You want them to feel that is a place for them. You want them to feel as if they are valued and appreciated and well compensated for that which they do. And so a lot of times the people at the top do not recognize the people in the business. And so that is what I would have to say about that piece in relation to, you know, having the ability to lead with because of your skill set, but not having those people skills. You need to have those people skills. Unless you're working with technical equipment and computers, you need to have people skills. You're not dealing with robots. These are human beings with human problems, human feelings, human emotions. And that, for me, I find is a big, big missing piece. Huge part of it.
You know what I think, considering that you just said that, and I was sitting here, one of the questions I usually ask the ladies is, do you feel that leadership can be taught? And just hearing what you said, which I had already thought this, is that when you're talking about a foundation, right? You're dealing with people. To me, you can teach technical skills, but you can't necessarily teach people skills or people to human, you know, to not respond as a robot.
Not
You know what I mean?
100%, but I get what you mean. I do believe that these are skills that can be learned, but it's going to take time to cultivate. And that individual also has to be receptive to that because you can reprogram your way of operation, right? But again, it's for them to recognize, hey, this is an area of weakness that I have, and I need the help in this particular area. And these changes can be achieved through executive coaching and stuff like that. Not a crash course. They need somebody to really walk them out and show them how to do what they need to do, and to really give them the opportunity to demonstrate those traits. I believe that before leaders are put into position, that they should be tested, especially in those people's skills, because that resume is popping, but then people's skills sucking. So we need to get it up to scratch, and I believe they can be coached to be better leaders. I do believe that. So everybody may not be born a leader, but you can create a leader.
You know what? And I'm thinking those companies that have a lot of turnover under a particular manager, wouldn't you think that it would be in their best interest kind of to take a look at, you know, who their front people are?
Yes, it would be. But most times, these people have their heads in the clouds because, again, the same people communicating with them would be the same people who are creating the problems, right? So a lot of people who come into companies at entry-level positions or middle management positions or the lower levels in companies, they don't feel like they have a voice. They don't feel like they have a say. They also believe that they will be, what is the right word? Victimized. They feel like if they'll be victimized if they step up and say something. But for me personally, I've had that experience of feeling that way. But then I got a little sense. So I decided I will stand up and speak up. Whether or not you're going to keep me after that is entirely up to you, but I will get up and speak up. And because of speaking up within my company, I've been able to create lots of change in a lot of areas that were dark before. So we have to become, and I know this is not about empowerment per se, but we have to become empowered to the point where we can get up and speak up. This is how you lead as well. And this is why I believe that all of us are called to lead in some form or fashion or in some sphere, because you can be the voice for somebody else. A lot of times we fold our hands and we accept things as the norm, and we just sit there and we grumble and we complain. It does nothing to us. It does not add a day to our lives. As a matter of fact, it takes away days from our lives when we complain instead of opening our mouths and saying something. Because some of the leaders at the top really actually don't have a clue what's going on at the bottom. Legit. Because when they're going to meetings, they get a report based on what is expected, but they don't know what is going on. They don't know what's happening on the ground. And unless the people who are on the ground get up and say something, nobody's going to know what's happening. So I personally believe that as people, we need to get up. We need to feel that empowered feeling. We need to be confident and speak up. And speak up. This is how we enact change. This is how we can lead, you know, without being at the forefront of things all of the time. We can lead.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Thank you so much for your wisdom.
You're welcome.
I want to segue into, what would you say have been some of the challenges for you, either in business, in your own personal business, maybe at with your employer? What have been some of your challenges in the past with being a leader, or being in leadership?
Some of the challenges that I would have had again would have been around the piece of feeling confident or empowered, right? Initially, especially in my workspace. That again, as I shared before, has changed drastically from what it used to be. There are people as well who would try to make you feel that you can't speak up or you don't have a say. I remember a colleague one time saying to me, and you are at the bottom of the barrel, so nobody's going to listen to what you have to say, right? Basically, that's what she said. Well, I've moved up several steps away from that barrel, and she's still where I left her and she's been in the company longer than I have been. So you've got to push past some of the things that you hear. You've got to push past some of the things that you see. You've got to push past a lot of negative thoughts as well, because the enemy will come to tell you what you can or cannot do. I remember early in my business, as I said, I started my business about 18 months ago. And I remember when I first started being terrified to show up as the leader and as the expert that I knew that I was, because people thought that I didn't have the qualifications to lead. People thought, a matter of fact, well, you know about business, right? Who in your family knows about business? What have you studied about business? But that was irrelevant, because once you understand what is inside of you, and once you understand the assignment that God has placed upon you, you can do anything that He's asked of you. When I look at my life, I kind of see it as how Moses was called to lead people, and he wanted to straight back. He didn't think he had a voice, and God gave him a voice through Aaron. And so God didn't give me an Aaron, but God allowed me to find my voice so that it would help me to step into that position that He has called me to be. So I would say a lot of times is around the confidence. I would say sometimes is around feeling that people may think that you're arrogant, but you've got to step up to the plate. Let people deal with their own feelings and their own perceptions. That's between them and God. That ain't got nothing to do with you. Focus on the task and step up to the assignment. Show up for the assignment that God has given to you. And so that's what I decided to do. I put my feelings on the back burner about this thing, because I said, God, listen, you know I don't like the spotlight. God, you know I don't like to be in front of anything. And the more I look back at my life over the last 18 months, is like, God, you didn't hear me, because I tell you I don't like the spotlight, but it was like bam, 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 up front, show you. So, I just show up for my assignment. That's it. So I did have challenges, but I would say that by showing up and trusting God in the whole process, I was able to step up to the plate and to be the leader that you see today.
Wow. How you mentioned that you kind of wanted to kind of stay in the back, and you didn't really want to come out to the front, or you didn't really want to, you mentioned, this isn't the word you use, but kind of be boastful, or kind of patting yourself on the back. And that's very common. It comes up time and time again, whether we're talking about leadership, just us as women in general, that somehow there's some sort of, and I don't know, I know you grew up in Barbados, I grew up here in Michigan, but I'm telling you, I've always grown up with the thought of that I was to be seen and not heard, as well as it's something about being a woman that people are quick to call you, oh, you don't brag on yourself, or you're being too boastful, or you're being too, I don't know, what are some other words for people that are confident, but cocky. They don't use cocky necessarily to describe.
The word they use a lot is arrogant, they're full of themselves and that type of thing.
What's that about though? Was it like that growing up in Barbados, that same type of?
I was taught to be seen and not to be heard. And this was not just in relation to female children, but children in general. Were taught to be seen and not heard, not to have a voice, to be quiet. And I remember many occasions where my mother would tell me certain things, and I would ask her questions, and she'd be like, you're too rude, you need to shut up, And it wasn't being rude, but she saw it as back talking. And so then I went through a period of my life, a matter of fact, for quite a few years, probably more than 15 years of my life, I remember not asking questions, not saying anything, just keeping really quiet, because I didn't think that I had a voice. And then I turned to writing. So then I would start to write all of my feelings and my emotions and stuff like that. But we are cultured to believe, especially people of color, that we should not have a voice. right? And then we go to work in corporate spaces with people of other ethnicities, and we are expected to have the same approach where we shut up and say nothing. But when people of other skin tones come in the room, they have the voice, they can speak. We are just as intelligent, we're just as brilliant. As a matter of fact, we are in most cases more intelligent, more brilliant, and we have a seat at the table. So for me, as a woman then and growing up in the church, you were not supposed to say certain things. You were not supposed to have an opinion on a lot of things. And this is where I had my struggle in church a lot, because I became very vocal. Things that I did not see that made sense, I asked. I remember there was a Sunday when I was in a very traditional church. I remember when I had the revelation of Jesus Christ and the baptism and all this kind of thing. I went to the reverend and I said to him, hey, I want to be baptized. And he said, oh, we don't do baptism here. You are baptized as an infant. I said to him, according to the Bible, right? You cannot baptize an infant. An infant cannot consent to be baptized. You can bless children, but you cannot baptize a baby. And I said, based on the Bible, Jesus was baptized by John, and I want to be baptized. He said, well, we don't do it here, and if you need to be baptized, you have to go somewhere else. I said to him, no problem. So I would challenge him on certain things. One Sunday, I went to work with my mother to do stock taking, and I left stock taking and went to church. So I was wearing a jeans and a white t-shirt. When I got there, he was serving Holy Communion, and he thought that I was inappropriately dressed, and he didn't want to serve me communion. So I looked at him and I dared him not to give me communion, because if he did not give me communion that Sunday, nobody would be having communion. And at the end of service, you know, and he caught the spirit that I was giving him, because he gave me my bread and he gave me my wine, you know, with a side eye, but he gave it to me anyway. And then after church, he came and he said to me I was inappropriately dressed. This attire is not suitable for Sundays. I said, well, if I'm inappropriately dressed, I can understand if you were saying to me I shouldn't wear it at all. But don't tell me I'm inappropriately dressed and it's not suitable for Sundays. Or I came into church and I distracted the men. I say distracted y'all because y'all was paying attention. If you were tuned in with the word of God, you won't pay attention to what I was wearing. I said I went to work and I came straight here. But you didn't see my heart. You saw my attire. I said, and I saw you didn't want to give me any communion, but you caught the message real fast, because had you not given me communion, nobody would be getting communion today. You understand? So I used to not create problems. I don't follow things that don't make sense. I don't do things that don't make sense. I will challenge you. And this is where my mother had it back and forth. She would be like, you know, somebody gets so comfy in your mouth. Because if I don't understand, I will question it. If I don't agree with it, I will question it. 1 and 1 has to make 2, or 1 and 1 has to be 11. 1 and 1 cannot equal 0. Anytime you add 1 and 1 and you get 0, something is fundamentally wrong. So I was not the one to sit down, although I didn't like the spotlight. I was not the one to sit down and just take instructions because I was told to do this. No, I challenge the status quo. This is how I create change.
Can I go? I need to get the fire extinguisher. Just could you hold on one second? You're something else. You know what? I knew that. And for those of you who don't know, this is what, maybe our second time talking, or maybe our third. We were
probably third.
I knew you were fire. It was just, I knew it. Okay, all right. Let me cool myself off. Okay, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, you have to understand. And as a woman, and I said this in a meeting yesterday, because again, there's some big changes coming to the organization where I work. And there was a meeting yesterday, and my boss's boss was in the room, and everybody was going around the table and speaking in relation to changes. And when it was my turn, because my boss is being put up for a role that she pretty much did not apply for, but it became open, and they're asking her to step up to this role. And I remember she said to them yesterday, you know, I don't know why all of y'all see me as the right person to take on this role. I don't see myself. So when it was my turn to speak, I said to her, I don't understand for the life of me why you don't see yourself in this role. I said, and let today be the last time that you get up and tell us that you don't see yourself as a leader. Each person in this room agrees that you're a leader, and you're going to step up to the plate and you're going to do this. I said, and no disrespect to the 3 men in this room, but I love to see a woman in power. When a woman is empowered, let me tell you, I find it to be invigorating, intoxicating, and absolutely exhilarating. And the whole room erupted because nobody expected that would have come from my mouth. So I said to her, I am here to support you, and I can speak on behalf of the entire team because they will back you. It wasn't like me asking them to back them. I was saying they're going to back you, and you're going to step up and you're going to do this thing. You understand? So when I show up in the room, so her boss looked at me like, did you really say that? I said, yes. I don't have anything against men, but we deserve a seat at the table. So I support her 1000% in the role that she's about to take up. And he said, I think I have to go and get HR. I said, sure, no problem.
Okay.
We have a seat at the table. It is ours, and it's for us to sit in that seat. And I can tell you something, as a proud Black woman, I am confident and comfortable sitting and taking my position. I have no problem doing it. And my mission is to empower other women to get up, to see the value in what they carry, and to take their seats at the damn table. Stop waiting for somebody to offer you a seat.
That's right.
Because you be under the table. But you need to get up. You need to understand your position and to step up confidently. We don't care if they think we aggressive, we're assertive. We don't think if they think we angry, we honest. We're bold and we stepping up to the plate. We are not shrinking back anymore. The days of shrinking back, the days of hiding in the background, the days of running from the limelight are over. Step up to the plate, show up for your assignment and own the damn thing.
That's right.
That's it. We about business in these streets. We ain't huddling and shuddering no more. When people see us coming, they gotta clear the road.
That's right. Yep. Look, they just go. The crowd just gonna do like that when you walk through.
If the crowd don't move, we moving it. But we coming through. We coming through with seats and moving. So to everybody watching this right now, woman or whoever you are, let me tell you, it is yours. You just got to step up to the plate. Stop hiding from me. Stop hiding. Stop wasting time and playing the fool. Step up. This is not your time to be on punishment. Your days of punishment are over. So when they tell you that you're aggressive, tell them you're assertive. Tell them you're passionate about what you believe.
Right. Yeah.
You have a voice, and it is your time to get up and to use it. And we're going to lead the world by example. We're not waiting for them to give us the opportunity. We're going to create our own opportunities. Yep. We're going to create our own tables. We're going to push down doors. We're going to break off doors. We're busting through windows, but we're going to do the thing. Y'all get me? Y'all feel me?
Right.
Yep. Feeling me right now?
You know what? And the thing of it is, when we talk and we have these conversations and people see how we move, that sets an example for other women to awaken the leader within. And
That's
also
right.
the young girls, 13, 14, 15 in high school, they see this as an example. You know what I mean? Even if they haven't seen it in their immediate family, let's just say.
Yes.
Because I know growing up, I didn't see a lot of leadership in my family, much less entrepreneurship, especially from a woman. So this is a good, we walking the walk and we talking the talk.
And just like you, growing up in my household, I was growing up in a household of women because my mom and my grandmother raised me. And so I saw strong women, but I didn't have the example of a leader in my home. I didn't have the example of an entrepreneur, but I knew from a very early age that I would be an entrepreneur. I knew I could not work for anybody.
Okay.
At 12 years old, I knew I could not work for anybody. Because when I looked around at the life that people around me had, I did not want that. I could not settle for menial jobs. I could not settle for mediocre. I could not understand how you could stay in a job for 40 years and be content. That thing drives me crazy. Actually, in a meeting yesterday, one of my colleagues said she's been with the company for 32 years, working the same job. And I'm like, are you mad? What have you been doing? Right, yeah. And she's like, I'm happy doing this. Kudos to you, boo, but that's not my portion.
Right. Yeah.
I knew I just could not, and this is the longest job I've ever had.
Okay.
Because I knew this thing called entrepreneurship was just a part of my life. I knew that I was called to do something amazing. I didn't quite know what the amazing was supposed to be at first. So I tried a lot of different things. Right. I tried different businesses. But when I found my sweet spot, I was determined to dominate. Let me tell you. when I found my sweet spot, I was determined to reign and rule. Right? There was no more shrinking back, ain't no more hiding in the background. I'm coming full throttle. Full throttle. From Barbados
That's
to
right.
the world.
That's
That
right.
was my mission. And so, you know, that's what I have to say about that.
Ooh, you know, ladies, I know if you weren't feeling empowered before, I know you are now. So make sure you go back and listen to all of the exclusive interviews. I mean, it's so much good information to be able to help you level up in your life as well as your business. Now, Dionne, we have a couple of minutes. Let the ladies know what you have coming up. We know that today is May the 21st, and you know, if you're following Realizing Your Potential 123, you'll have access to all of the exclusive interviews, as well as we're streaming on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. But let the ladies know, is there how can they reach out to you, and do you have I don't know, an upcoming anthology? Do you have a group coaching program?
I have some amazing things in the woodwork. So tomorrow I will be hosting my first inaugural Mompreneur CEO Awards Gala, where I will be honoring 10 moms who have been crushing it in their businesses, and we have had some amazing responses to these awards. And coming up, I also have an exclusive mastermind. So I'm actually going to be launching that project within the next 2 weeks. This mastermind will be for women who are authors. If you are a speaker, if you are a coach, and you're ready to go global with your business, this is the mastermind for you. And so if you want to get in touch with me for that, you can send an email to info@dionnegraves.com. And if you're interested in getting out of your comfort zone and coming to the beautiful, breathtaking island of Barbados, woo! Meet me here on September 9th to 11th. I will be hosting a 3-day exclusive retreat for the women who are rising, ruling, and reigning in their kingdom. So you will be treated with the royal treatment for 3 days. We will be staying at an exclusive private resort here on the island, and you will have the best of the island, but you also have the best of powerhouses in the room so that we can level up and go global. So if you want information on that, connect with me. You can send me an email at info@dionnegraves.com, or you can slide into my DMs on Facebook. You can find me at Dionne S. Greaves. All right, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Dionne, for taking a seat at the table and dropping your knowledge. Boom. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you leave any questions or comments that you have for us, and we will definitely reach back out to you. Definitely connect with Dionne if you want to boss up. Okay, connect with her. Get on her calendar. Make sure you follow me at Realizing Your Potential, the numbers 123, like I said, on Facebook. That way you can get alerts as to everything that's going on, when the book collaboration will come, Born to Lead, Awakening the Leader Within, as well as different updates. If you're interested in being a guest on the 8 Queens Roundtable show and podcast, or you are interested in taking your show to the next level, we're talking maximum visibility, okay? Maximum credibility, maximum networking opportunities. Let me know. You can be a guest on the show, and or you can apply to be a show host on the one and only Women Win Network, which is dedicated, dedicated to women's empowerment. Okay. So look me up. If you want to shoot me an email, email me at realizingyourpotential, the numbers 123@gmail.com. All right, ladies, I will talk to you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.